So thank you for those of you that are online for tuning in, and thank you for being here. I got a little handout here in the office, but if you're doing this from home, you can go ahead and just write in a journal or a notebook or something. Today, I really want to talk about goal setting, and my life. I have. Without a doubt, created a number of miracles for myself because I didn't come from any money. I came to this country over 30 years ago with just a few $100s in my pocket, and I don't have any superior education, but I've always had the burning desire to succeed, and I've been very, very fortunate in my life to come across role models that would stress to me the fact that I have the ability to create anything that I set my mind to if I really want to do it. For the last 25 years, I really have invested a lot in personal development, probably at least $150,000 invested in workshops, in seminars, in events, not to mention countless books. And one of the persons that had the biggest impact on my life was probably Tony Robbins. And as part of the Tony Robbins journey, I have gone through what he calls a series of ultimate goal setting workshops. And so what I'm going through here right now today is really modeled after the Tony Robbins ultimate goal setting workshop. And the most important thing is that goal setting, in order to be effective, really is a process. So it's not just sitting down and writing a list of 5 things that would be great to have the next year, but 99% of achievement is psychology. So this goal setting workshop, which will take about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour at most, is going to require you to really think and write down, and this is totally private for yourself, so no one is going to look at your responses or what you're writing down. But as always in life, you get out in direct relation to what you put in. So it's a 7-step process, and the first step is to really get clear on how well you did in 2016. Before we go on to looking at the next year, let's reflect on the current year and realize just what an amazing year it's been, and also some of the learning experiences that we've had. So the first step, and you want to write this down, is ask yourself, what did you love in 2016? So take out your pens, and it's a workshop. You can do it or not do it, but you don't get anything out of it by just listening to it. So if you're watching the recording, by the way, I suggest you hit pause and then go through this and just take a minute to write down, all of the things that you loved in 2016. What are some of the magical moments that you had? What were some of the experiences that you had that were absolutely amazing, that put a smile on your face when you think back, to the year? What was magical? What was really, truly extraordinary in 2016? Because I'm sure that even if you didn't achieve all of your goals, there were quite a few things that were quite magical, And then what did you accomplish in 2016? There are goals I'm sure that you set for yourself, and that you're excited about, that you're proud of, accomplishments. And also, what are some of the things that you want to duplicate in 2017? What are some of the things that you thought, wow, this was awesome, and I'm going to do that again next year? Maybe, something physical, or a success in your business. So the idea here is to really just connect to the successes of 2016, because people tend to focus on all the stuff that didn't work out, and they never really stop to focus on and enjoy all of the amazing things that happened, all of the accomplishments, the goals that were achieved, and some of the things that you want to carry over into the next year. But of course, it's not just all love and excitement. There are also some things in 2016 that you don't want to repeat, I would imagine. So, what are some of the things that you hate 2016? What was challenging this past year?
Good morning, they're late.
What was challenging this past year? And what are some of the things that you don't want to have happen again? And very importantly, what did you learn by going through these experiences, and why were they so incredibly valuable? So not only do you want to connect to all the great things that happened this year before we start looking ahead, but you also want to connect with the learning experiences. Some of the things this year that didn't go quite the way you would have wanted them to go, and why were they valuable? Specifically, why were they great learning experiences? I believe in my life that there's no such thing as failure. There's always a learning experience. A friend of mine uses the word seminar. You may have a $500,000 seminar if he had a very valuable learning experience. And but you want to think about that consciously, as opposed to just, oh my God, this didn't work out. It was so terrible. What did you learn from it? And why were they so incredibly valuable? So that really is your first step to get clear, And then let's take a look at decisions that you made in 2016. What are some of the specific decisions that you made in 2016 that were empowering for you? You would say these were phenomenal experiences that I had based on a decision that I made. It could be a decision to leave your mate and start over, or it could be a decision to start a new business, or it could be a decision to get a pet, or it could be a decision to get a new car, or buy a new home, switch from PC to Mac, or the other way around. What are some of the decisions that you made in 2016 that were empowering for you? And then, of course, what decisions are you going to make next year as a result? So, what are some of the most important decisions for you? What decisions might you make next year as a result? And, the thing about goal setting and achievement is to be deliberate. And if the truth is that this year you haven't made any decisions, or you can't remember any decisions you made, then, well, as a result of that, you might decide that next year you're going to be more deliberate and actually ask yourself, what do I want to do moving forward? So the first step was to connect with what happened this year, what was great about this year, what wasn't so great about this year, what did we learn about, what are some of the most important decisions I made this year, how did they affect me, how were they empowering, and what kind of decisions might I make next year? The second step in this process is to get certainty. And this is a very, very important step. Most people think, especially if you're chasing after some goals that don't seem to come true, that your life is just crap and nothing is happening. But the truth is that we all have had achievements and successes in our lives, in the past. It may have been 10 years ago, may have been 30 years ago, but we want to connect with that. We want to create that level of certainty that we actually are able to manifest things, to achieve things. And so the next step here is to take some time and write down anything in your life that you've achieved that was once just a goal or a dream or desire. And if you look back at your life, what are some of the big things, some of the little things that once seemed extremely difficult or impossible to achieve or acquire? I know when I look back at my life, There are many of those, you know.
Me
So,
too.
so you know, write those down. You know, what are some of the things that you have achieved that were once just a desire or a goal or a dream, you know, and that seemed almost impossible at the time, but you made them happen anyhow. And just think about, you know, 2 or 3 things. It could be something big, huge, like moving to another country, or you know, finding the perfect mate, or overcoming an illness, or you know, running a marathon, or whatever it might be. It could be something small, tiny. But what are some of the things that in the past, could be 50 years ago, it could be, you know, 6 months ago, that that you actually have achieved that once were just a goal, a dream, or desire, and that seemed difficult or maybe even impossible to achieve. You know, maybe getting a degree, or passing the real estate exam on the 3rd try. Who knows? But we all have things like that. And there's a reason why you want to get clear on that. We want to look back at not only what did we achieve, but how did that happen? You know, what are some of the things that we did to make that happen in retrospect? Because, you know, success leaves clues, and there may be something in there in the way that you achieved those impossible things in the past that you can apply moving forward. You know, there might be some things that you did in the past to make that happen that you're just not doing anymore. And that's why you're having a tough time achieving them. So out of the things that that you came up with, just circle a couple that seemed the most difficult to achieve, like the biggest achievement against all odds in your life that that you made happen. And again, there's no right or wrong. And then for those items, you know, think back on that and write down the steps that you went through to make that happen. Okay. So for those 2 or 3 things that were just dreams, you know, how did you make it happen? Did you learn something, read a book, pick something up, or meet someone, or make some calls, or just you know, meet some people, someone that was able to help it? You know, did you go out of your way to, you know, go somewhere or be somewhere that allowed you to connect with something that made it happen? So there are always steps to achievement, and if you work your way backwards, you know, what happened before that, what happened before that, and if you think back at that thing, was that something that consumed you? You know, it may not have been consciously, but, you know, was it something that consumed you, that you were obsessed about, that you were completely passionate about? Did you focus on it all the time to make that happen? Or was it just one of those things that you thought about it and then immediately created it? You know, did you put a lot of emotion into it? And did you actually create a plan for it, you know, for that big achievement? Did you make a plan, and what were the steps that you went through to make that happen? And this may be different for every person, but you might learn something about yourself. You know, the idea here is to connect with the fact that you have had some huge achievements in your life where you created something that seemed completely impossible, maybe at the time, and then you yourself, how you made that happen. You know, it's different for everyone else. You know, some people just visualized it continuously. Some people made a detailed plan, step by step, and then executed on that plan. Some people did both of it. You know, some people told everyone that they knew until those people got sick of it, didn't want to hear about it anymore. But that was part of the strategy, you know. And so it's important to kind of reconnect with that, because we're like hamsters in the wheel, just going through the motions, going through life without really being deliberate, and time just flies by. But if you look at those big achievements in the past and what our personal formula was for achieving those things, you may want to consider that that is a formula you might want to apply moving forward to some big goals you might set for the future. So step 1 and step 2 is covered. Step 2 is to get, clarity and get certainty. And step 3 is to get excited. So you understand now that you've been able to create achievement. I mean, you've done it before. You have ability to make your dreams and goals a reality. Now it's time to decide where you want to go. And very, very important, you really want to put a smile on your face and get excited about this step, because psychology is everything. Believe it or not, when you do this at home, you might even want to put on some hot music and jump up and down and dance on your table, because your state of mind is going to totally determine what kind of answers you come up with. Most people that are stuck, that can't come up with an answer, or I don't know, they're in a very unresourceful state. And when you shake that up, then all of a sudden you can come up with ideas. So let's take a look at this. Again, you want to be in a peak state, sit up straight, and just put yourself in a state of expectancy, and just start writing nonstop. There should be plenty of paper there about every single goal that you want to accomplish in your lifetime. And just do a brain dump. Just start brainstorming. And the most important thing is that you want your pen to keep moving. You don't want your pen to stop. Just keep going, keep going. And anything you want to do, anything you want to be, have, share, experience, no limits. Relationship goals, physical goals. Do you want to work out? Do you want to, run a marathon? Do you want to have an amazing Arnold Schwarzenegger physique? Do you want to be financially independent and free? There's no limits, regardless of how silly, outrageous it might seem. Are you tired of flying coach class? Do you want to have a private jet or 2? Maybe a helicopter? Maybe you want to live on the beach. A condo on the beach, or a 10,000 square foot home on the beach. The thing that motivates me the most is that no matter what you see out in the world, started once as someone's thought and someone's dream. And you can have a dream to have a 27-foot powerboat. We can have a dream to have a 200-foot motor yacht. That's okay. There's no right or wrong. But the person with the 200-foot motor yacht certainly didn't, his main goal was not to have a 27-foot powerboat. You don't get a 200-foot motorboat by having a 27-foot powerboat goal. So you just want to go crazy. And maybe it's traveling. Maybe you want to pick up the book, 1,000 Places to Visit Before You Die, and go and see them all. So if you see 50 places a year, then you would need 20 years to make that happen. Take a trip a week, Maybe you want to have a new relationship. Maybe you want to adopt some children. Maybe you want to completely redo your wardrobe. But you really want to dream without limits. Very, very important. And this is your chance to do that. And I go through this process every single year. And it's always something different every year that you come up with, and you come up with this huge list of dreams. And sometimes it's something totally different. You change. When you're 60, your goals are different than when you're 20, So, when you're 20, you might want to have a Lamborghini or 2 or 3 and do all that crazy stuff. And then, when you're our age, you might want to have a sailboat or something, and sail around the world, or, just have a house in the Tuscany. How amazing would that be? If you had your own villa in the Tuscany and you could just spend 3 months a year there, and then the rest of the year you rent it out. Or you don't have to have your house in Tuscany. You could just rent a different villa every year for 3 months. But it all starts with the with the dream, with the idea. And they did a study a long, long time ago at Harvard, I think it was, where they took the graduating class and found out, who had written specific goals. And it was only about 3% of the class that actually had written down specific goals. And then they went back a couple of decades later, and they realized that, okay, that small percentage, not only were they happier and more fulfilled and healthier than the other ones, but also that 3% was worth more financially than the other 97% put together. So it's something that every single top achiever has in common. Every single top achiever has their goals, reads their goals, writes their goals out daily. It's just like the old Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich formula. We know you achieve, aim in life, and how to get there. And you read it out aloud every morning, first thing you wake up, every evening, last thing before you go to bed. So there is a science of achievement that people that achieve at any level have that in common, and people that don't. It's just a fact. No one that skips that part is going to achieve huge success. Everyone that has huge success has that in common. So once you have your list, you want to go through there and you want to number those items and decide, how long is it going to take you to achieve that goal? Is it going to be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years? And a lot of people overestimate what can be achieved in 1 year, and they underestimate what can be achieved in 10 years. You may not get from where you are right now to having a, Trump Force One Boeing 757 private jet this next year. But over the next 10 or 20 years, that would certainly be possible, So you want to tag them and decide how long does it take to achieve those. And then out of your 1 year goals, you want to circle your top 1 year goals. And it's a great exercise to have the 4 top 1 year goals for next year out of that list. You kind of distill it down. You have this brain dump of all the different stuff that you want to have, be, achieve, experience, do over the rest of your life from where you are right now, which again, that list is going to be different next year. And then from that, drill down, okay, how long is it going to take to achieve these things? But then zero in on the 1 year goals. The 1 year goals are by far the most important ones because, too many people get hung up on their 5 and 10 or 20 year goals. But the truth is, 5 years from now, they're going to be a different person, different things happen. Maybe somebody died, maybe somebody's born. So things change, And, but over the next year, that's a pretty short window where you can focus on. And obviously, it's taking you into the direction where right now you think you want to be 10 years from now. But it's really something that's much more concrete. So, and ask yourself those top 4 goals, if you could achieve them, if you could see yourself as having them achieved next year, would that excite you enough to get out of bed early, to get up at 5:30 in the morning, to stay up late at night, to be excited and have that energy? And if you think back at the goals that you've achieved in the past, that the really big ones that seemed impossible, my hallucination is that you weren't depressed about these things. It didn't take you hours to drag your butt out of bed, and you didn't lose your energy at 5 in the afternoon there was probably a passion component about it. So you want to make sure that these are things that would excite you. Now, the next step is probably the most important one, and that is to get committed. Those 4 goals that you set for yourself, for each of those, you want to write a paragraph why they are a must to achieve them. What are the reasons you absolutely will achieve this no matter what? If the why is big enough, the how falls into place. Reasons come first, answers come second. So it's so important. If you don't have a strong enough why, then it's most likely not going to happen. If your goal is, I want to make $20,000 a month, but there's really no good reason for it, why not 15? Why not 30? Then it's probably not going to happen. But if you absolutely have to make $20,000 a month because your spouse or your child needs some special medical care or there's some things that you can do, but in order to make that happen, this is what it's going to cost. Now that's a powerful why. And then you're going to find a way to make that happen. So you want to write a paragraph about each of those goals. Why is it a must for you to achieve them? and why you absolutely will achieve this no matter what. So this is not a wish, it's a goal, it's a must, and you're going to do whatever it takes to achieve this, no matter what. So if you're in the real estate business and let's say your goal is to do, I don't know, 5 deals a month, and in order to do 5 deals a month, you got to do X amount of prospecting, and there's a huge reason why that is a must, then you're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to go and hit the streets. And I met with a very successful agent the other day that does a huge amount of business. And she told me about someone that she knows that is in her office. And that guy uses a very low-tech approach. He does about 50, 60 deals a year. But he will knock on doors and walk neighborhoods until he has at least 5 apartments. He does it every day. He might be done at 5 in the afternoon. He might be done at 8 o'clock at night. He will knock on doors and make phone calls until he has those appointments. He will not stop, period. Okay? So when you have that kind of must, you will achieve results, as opposed to, well, I'm going to make 10 calls and people don't like me, and okay, I'll try again tomorrow. It's a huge, huge difference. So the reason is what makes that happen. If your why is big enough, then you're going to do it. If not, then it's just not going to happen. Also, in order to achieve those goals, what are some of the things you may need to do that you don't want to do to achieve those goals? Just be honest with yourself. For each of those 4 things, what are some of the things that you have to do that you don't want to do? Maybe you have to make 100 phone calls a day and you hate making phone calls. I don't know what it is. Maybe you have to save money. Maybe you have to stop going out for dinner and stop buying crap and save that money. Maybe it's getting a second job. Talked the other day to someone that if you've maxed out your Roth IRA every year, it's $5,000 a year, about $100 a week. That would be great. Blah blah blah. Oh, but I can't afford to do it. Well, gee, go deliver pizza, do something to make $100 a week to put that money away. If it's a must, there always is a way. You could work the late night shift at McDonald's and make $100 a week. So there always is a way if there is commitment. So obviously, if it's a problem, then the reason is not big enough. So you got to ask yourself, for each of those 4 goals, why is it a must? And what are some of the things you have to do that you don't want to do to make that happen? And if it turns out that you can't think of anything for those goals, or if you can't come up with a reason why it's a must, then go back and reevaluate your list of goals and say, well, maybe this would be like a nice to have or should, but it's not. I'm not really committed enough to it. Once you get clear on that and you get committed to the goal, and commitment means to cut off from any other possibility, then you want to start creating momentum. And one of the most important things I learned is that you never want to leave the side of setting a goal without taking some kind of action towards it. Okay, so again, for each of those goals, you have to start taking some sort of action towards it. But we want to keep it simple. And right now, I want you to decide, you can do that after the presentation, after the meeting is over, what is one small thing that you're going to do immediately towards achieving one of those top goals? What's like one small thing? Is it calling a gym to join them, or sign up for a class, or I don't know, opening up a savings account, or making a phone call to a prospect or a client? What's a tiny thing that you can do, that you will do immediately towards achieving one of those top goals? And then what's one big thing that you decide, that you resolve to do immediately to achieve this goal? One big thing. And again, it creates momentum, because if you just think of something, then it's just a dream. You start writing it down, it becomes real. But until you actually take action on it, it's still just an idea, really. Once you start taking action towards it, then all of a sudden it truly starts to get real and to manifest. And that takes us to step 7, which is you got to be smart about it, and you got to measure your progress daily, ideally, but at least weekly. So your goal has to be measurable, obviously, and you got to take progress towards it. So let's say, for example, if your goal is to lose 25 pounds and you never step on the scale and you have no idea whether you're getting further away from it or getting closer to it, then you don't have any idea. Or if your goal is to achieve something else. I mean, let's say, for example, financially, people don't look at their finances. You should have a net worth statement for yourself and look at it at least once a week with your partner, if you have a partner, to see, how we're doing. Are we, spending more or less than it's on our budget? Are we moving forward on the plan? Is our net worth growing or shrinking? How are our investments doing, 401ks, IRAs, and so forth? And you want to measure it specifically. And in closing, there's a great tool that I recommend that I've been using myself now for some time. And it's the Best Self Journal. It's about $30. And you can go to bestself.co, not com, but co, product/self-journal, or you can just Google Best Self Journal. And it's a great journal that has a section every morning for you to connect with 3 things that you're grateful for as the day starts. What your goals are, your 4 top goals that you're after. What are some of the most important things that you have to accomplish today? And then at the end of the day, you reflect again. Okay, what happened? What went well? What did I succeed at, or some of the successes? What are some of the things that I can learn from, that maybe didn't go so well? And what are 3 things that I'm grateful for that happened today, So kind of starting the day with gratitude and ending the day with gratitude. And it has a section, of course, for your, daily calendar and all that stuff. But it's a very, very powerful tool to do that every single day, to write out your goals, to decide what's most important today, to achieve those goals, to connect with what you're grateful for as you start your day and what was great the day at the end of the day. And it only takes a couple of minutes, so you're talking maybe 5 minutes max for the entire day, but it makes a huge, huge, huge difference in building momentum to achieve a goal. So I highly, highly recommend that. Again, it's about $30 or so. And you can start at any time. The pages, you write the day and the date on top, so you can start at any time. And if you skip a couple of days, then don't stress about it. You just pick up where you left off. But it's a great tool. So that, in a nutshell, is the ultimate goal setting workshop. And like I said, I'm going to put it on the YouTube channel. I recorded it, and I'm going to make it available, and you can redo it. You want to probably pause it every step along the way, and you really want to put some time into doing the exercises, and ideally play some great music in the background, what you find to be great music. Could be Mozart, could be some dance tunes, and put yourself in a peak state. So for all of those out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and I appreciate you taking the time to join us.